Welcome to Introducing the Knowledge Skills Assessment. I'm Bob King, a Senior Education Solutions Architect for VMware. I like to start all of my classes with a quote that I find appropriate to the content. I found this one, I thought it was perfect, from Bill Gates. So, quote, I believe that if you show people the problems and you show them the solutions, they will be moved to act. That is exactly what you as TAMs do. You are embedded in the customer as a trusted advisor. You know their pain points, and you are there to show them solutions. And hopefully, they will act. That's what I do as an education solutions architect. I talk to our customers about how they're using our products, what their comfort level is with the various features, and then I match them with educational opportunities that make sense for them in their environment. That's kind of what this training video is all about. So we're going to talk about how training can help your customers better utilize the VMware solutions they have or are planning to implement. I mean, everyone knows that education or knowledge is critical to success. Sometimes, though, that's hard to quantify. So we'll start there. Once we're done with that, we'll talk about the focus of this video, which is the Knowledge Skills Assessment, or KSA. It's a free service that VMware Education offers to our best customers, your customers, customers who have taken the initiative to purchase and utilize TAM services. Once you know what the KSA is all about, we'll take a look at what it delivers to the customer so you can describe the benefits and socialize the service within your accounts. So, let's get started. Success through training. Everyone knows training breeds successful engagements. But did you know that 95% of customers who call VMware support did not have training on the product that they call about? 95%. Those are SRs that you have to track as TAMs. Now, that doesn't mean that training eliminates support calls, but it does indicate that training can help reduce them. Next one's from IBM. Their research says that 84% of the employees in the best performing organizations are receiving the training they need. Lastly, according to IDC, 80% of IT managers surveyed believes that training is essential to project success. The bottom line here is that training needs to be presented as part of the solution, not part of the fix. Too many times, education is called in after the fact, after the project has stalled, or the consultants have, quote unquote, left the building, and the customer doesn't have the skills to maintain the environment. So, how do we do that? We use the equation for success. The equation is fairly simple. If we understand what they need to know and we know what they already know, then a little subtraction tells us what they need to learn. We call that the bridge to success. The issue has always been, how do we solve that equation? Well, the answer is VMware Education's Knowledge Skills Assessment. We'll talk about the process in a bit, but let's let success speak for itself here. We did a KSA for a state employees credit union. It was a small environment who had thought they had a set budget for training. During our KSA presentation, we brought out a few pain points that they were having with their environment, and we correlated that back to the data in the survey. The end result, they ended up spending 5 times what they had planned on education. They bought more VMware product and right now are extremely happy with their environment. Another company, we did a KSA for their communication division. Within 3 months, I was back doing KSAs for their media division, their enterprise division, and their automotive division. Well, we're currently doing the automotive division. Yet another company, I was literally in the middle of the presentation when the manager stopped me, called 3 other managers and told them, hey, you've got to come down here and see what these guys are showing me. That small KSA opened lines of communication into areas within the company that our account team had never talked to. We've done 4 more KSAs for them to date and are still working with them. There's a large one, a large government agency that has me do a KSA every 3 months on 3 different teams because it's government, so they turn over. The bottom line here is managers love the KSA. The information's valuable, it's timely, and it's relevant to their needs. You might think of training as small potatoes, $2,500 here, $3,000 for a class, whatever the cost might be. But when you talk to customers about training as part of the overall solution, then training becomes part of their plan and it's budgeted accordingly. I mean, what you're seeing here, this is just a few of the large companies that I've dealt with in the last few months, each of which are implementing a training plan that began with a KSA. So, what does that process look like? Well, let's take a look. It's very straightforward, 5-step process. Step number 1 is the pitch. The pitch is where someone from education, usually the learning solutions executive, that's the account executive, or myself or my counterpart, the solutions architect, or we meet with you and the management team of the customer to present the benefits of the KSA, set expectations, talk about the timing, address any concerns they might have. Once we've gone over that with the customer, the next step is the setup. That's where you, the TAM, really shine. I'll talk about your role in more detail in a little bit, but this is where you do your part. At that point, we've got everything in place. We open up the survey. That's where the work really falls on the solutions architect's shoulders. That's me. We send out an email to the participants that has a link to an online survey for them to complete. We leave that survey open for 2 weeks, which should be plenty of time for everybody to complete that survey. It takes them about 20 to 30 minutes. We can extend that period if necessary, but we like to get everybody done as soon as possible to keep that momentum going. Once we close the survey, we collect the data and start our analysis, and we build the deliverables. That usually takes about 5 business days or so. At that point, we can schedule a time to present the findings back to the customer. Usually we schedule for about an hour meeting with the customer to present that findings back. So the big question is, in that setup, what exactly is the TAM's role? So first, the solutions architect, me or one of my counterparts, will be asking you for some information about the customer. We're going to ask you 3 simple questions. First, what VMware products have they purchased and implemented? Or if they have shelfware, why? Why is their product sitting on the shelf not being implemented? 2, are they in the process of implementing anything? Are they doing a proof of concept on anything? Or are they planning on implementation in the next few months, say 6 months or so? And third, is this KSA a comprehensive, or is it a subgroup of the IT staff? By that I mean, should I be concentrating on a specific product or technology in my recommendations, or are we looking at the entire IT infrastructure? Next piece from your perspective is finding an executive sponsor within the company. This is the person that's going to champion the KSA within the customer. That person will send out an initial email to the participants, letting them know that they are working with VMware to perform a skills assessment, that it's in order to determine their comfort levels with various VMware technologies that they're using. They'll also let the participants know that information they're not re-interviewing for their job. It's going to be used to help budget for training for the next year or so. That initial email is critical because it frames the KSA in a positive light, and because it lets their staff know that the survey is approved and they should take the time to complete it. I actually have a template that I provide to the executive sponsors as a starting place, so they don't have to come up with it from scratch on their own. They can edit that in any way to form the way they want it to be. We might also ask them if we have a problem with participation. Maybe a group doesn't want to participate or is so busy that they're not finding that half hour. We might ask them to send out a second email halfway through saying, hey, you guys need to find the time to get this done. And then lastly, when we're starting the process, we need a list of names and email addresses that are of the people that are going to participate. We're going to ask you to help us gather that list. That list should be as comprehensive as possible. Anyone whose job butts up against the virtual environment should be considered. I mean, really, it's the more the merrier. It's very difficult to add individuals once the KSA has begun, so try to get everyone on the list to begin with. Think about all the departments within the IT infrastructure: VM admins, networking, storage, desktop, help desk, developers. I mean, the virtual infrastructure is pervasive, so just about anybody in IT might need training in some aspect of the products and technologies that VMware represents. Once we're done, right? Once we've had the survey, we pulled the data, I've built the reports. We're gonna present those reports back to the customer. The end result is a couple of documents, right? So the first is this report. This gets presented back to the customer. It's basically made up of two parts: an executive summary, which sums up the data in aggregate for the group. It's got a set of graphs and tables that show what we saw as a whole within the group. And then really the meat of this report is individual training plans, or IDPs, put together for each person who took the survey. The IDPs, actually, the managers love these because it really it shows the strengths, where each individual was comfortable with our products and our technologies, and then it also shows places where those individuals were not so comfortable. And really, that's my job, is to see where they're not comfortable and then know which classes we talk to those areas and then put those in a recommended list. After we present this, the customer will then work with the learning solutions executive to determine logistically and budget-wise which recommendations should be the long-term training plan for each individual. Second document we will present to the customer is a heat map. I call it the depth of coverage heat map. This is a visual representation of the overall comfort that their staff has with various VMware products. It's a great way to see in a quick glance where training might be needed. I mean, in this example, low comfort is indicated in deep red, while high comfort with a product is indicated in a deep green. At a glance, you can see which employee is comfortable with each product and which products the company has adequate coverage. I mean, in this example right here, you can take a look, and if the company were thinking about implementing NSX, they would probably want to involve education prior to implementation to ensure that they had adequate coverage prior to going live. It's a very visual representation of where do they have enough coverage and where do they need to bring people up to speed. So that kind of wraps up what the KSA is all about. Your next step, socialize this within your accounts. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out either to the Learning Solutions Executive on your accounts or myself. We'd be more than happy to help. So thanks for taking the time to watch our introduction to the KSA.